Welcome to Buckets, brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. My name is MattMoore. I'm the senior NBA writer for the Action Network. Happy New Year to you. Glad to have you guys with us for 2026. We had a hell of a time in 2025. Had a fun time in 2025. Only going to be up from here. Hope you and yours are doing great to start off 2026. To start off 2026 on Buckets, I have with me the future Jays, Joe Dellera at Joe Dellera, host of the Cash That podcast. Joe, what was your favorite thing you bet today?
Oh man, I had a really nice sweat for Chet Holmgren over 16.5 points. So it was fun. It was an unexpected sweat, but I'm happy it came through and we cashed it. So that was my favorite thing that we bet.
Also joining me is Jim Turvey from Roto Grinders at Turvey Bets on Twitter. Jim, what was your favorite thing that you bet today?
You're asking me on a great day. This was actually maybe my favorite win in a while. I did a very sicko Dayron Sharp steals ladder that hit each rung, and that was about a 2-unit win. So that was very nice.
That is phenomenal. My favorite was the Heat Pelicans under, which looked like it was absolutely dead to start that game because the Heat scored 41 points in the first quarter, and I was like, oh god, and then it ground down into dust. So I really like betting that under on Heat Pelicans today. I'll have a full card tomorrow. We'll have best bets from Jim and Joe later on in the show. Want to let you know that everything we talk about today can be found in the award-winning Action Network app. It's the best way for you to track your picks. You get up to the second information where the bets and money are coming in on. You hear me say this every time. Open up your little phone thingy, go to the Google Play Store or the Apple Store, App Store, and then just type in Action Network, and it's going to come up. You will get so much benefit out of this, not just from if you sign up for Pro. You're going to get instant stuff from Sean Kerner for the wildcard games. You're going to get instant stuff from Brandon Anderson on his futures. By the way, I'm on Action Network podcast on Thursday on Brandon's Best Bets episode. I'm so excited. It's going to be great. I get to talk NFL with Brandon, and Brandon loves when I'm on because I'm like the only person who is willing to be like, well, hang on a second. And actually, I will push him. And so it's always a really good time because I get really excited to do these NFL shows. And wildcard weekend's my favorite weekend of the entire NFL season. So I'm very excited, even though all these teams are trash and they all would have lost to the Chiefs if Patrick Mahomes hadn't gotten hurt because he was going to lead a game-winning drive and then they would have gone on to win the Super Bowl. And just so you know, none of this counts and all of it has an asterisk because Patrick Mahomes got hurt. Sorry, I don't make the rules. Sign up for Action Pro and you can get all this stuff. You can get our signals. You can get where the bets and the money are coming in on. It's all really great stuff. Just sign up at Action for Action Pro at actionnetwork.com/pro. Okay. We're going to start off today's conversation on the future Jays. We're going to talk about most improved player. And it's a fascinating market. I put some feelers out and I don't have the answer, so we'll talk about them next week. But I put some feelers out to kind of this is my thesis. I will start here, Jim Turvey. My thesis is not only does Deni Avdija, who is the odds-on leader of DraftKings Sportsbook plus 105, not only does he not fit most of our historical markers in terms of the reputation, the level of play, the guys that have played at an MVP type level, any of those type of things, especially the team success component, which has grown to be more and more important for these players. But I also do not feel that there is enough legitimate hype around Avdija. If you ask any league pass junkie, they're going to be like, oh, yeah, he's been great this year. Man, what a season for Avdija. Awesome. He does not, to me, have the buzz of Jalen Johnson when you're seeing the NBA posting his triple-double stats for the month. He does not have the attention that Austin Reeves had collected before he got hurt and burned every ticket that I put in on him to the ground because now he's not going to be able to play enough games. He does not have Keontae George is an interesting one because it's a little bit more similar where it's Keontae's been amazing. But also, the Jazz are a train wreck, and he may not. We don't know when he's going to play. Even somebody like Ryan Rollins, and we'll have some other guys. Jalen Durant has kind of slipped, but I wonder if we're going to get to the end of the year and just be look, Durant's become one of the most impactful, important defensive players in the league, and he's a double-double monster for this Pistons team. This is how we're going to reward the Pistons. Is Durant's going to get most improved player. I feel like that is more likely to happen than Deni Avdija winning most improved player. But the market keeps basically shitting on my head about this and basically being Deni Avdija is going to win this award. Somebody in the market believes Deni Avdija is going to win. Multiple somebody's probably. What is your big takeaway? And specifically on Avdija, where do you think we're at right now?
Yeah, I think it's super interesting because this award is kind of like Coach of the Year, where it's very hard to cap at the beginning of the year because you almost don't want to be the favorite at the beginning of the year because you want to sneak up on people out of the blue. I think that's why Durant, when Fonseca gave him out a couple months ago, right before the buzz got good, I thought that was such a good play because he was the perfect type to be like, oh, he's on radars, but he wasn't coming into the season, the favorite, which I believe Denny Avdia was way back in like June, July. Now, I think by the start of the season, I think Amin Thompson swapped with him, which is ironic because Amin Thompson's kind of doing why you don't want to be the favorite going in. He actually has improved in a lot of his numbers, but he's 100-1 here, and no one's talking about it at all. And I agree, there's no buzz. The Denny thing is weirder because I agree with you that it's not super buzzy and it doesn't seem like he is the prohibitive favorite. I would push back on the Portland team win thing, in part because A, I'm higher on them than you. And B, we just saw Dyson Daniels win last year on a Hawks team that was insanely mid with 40 wins. But I think Joe will probably kind of go into some of the, was Dyson Daniels a fluke of it all? I am with you, though, that if you look at the history of this award, it is like a lot of guys becoming a dude, right? It's like even Lauri Markkanen is probably the least dude of all these guys, but Pascal Siakam becoming a dude. Ingram kind of seemed like he was going to be a dude at age 22. Julius Randle, John Morant, Tyrese Maxey, and even Dyson Daniels, if you squint, he is not going to be a dude. But I think it was like one of these like, oh, he's going to be the defensive dude. Like he is going to be the defensive stopper in the league. Now, he has kind of come back to earth this year, and that MIP hasn't looked super great in retrospect. But I do think there's a lot more dude-dom to Jalen Johnson than there is to Denny Avdia. Part of it is Denny's game. I mean, ethical basketball is the big thing right now. He's quietly one of the biggest free throw merchants out there. I mean, he leads the league in free throws attempted a game. He's not a good free throw shooter. He has a lot of holes in his game. And here's the other thing. Scoot Henderson has yet to play a game this season. He is getting closer and closer. We just saw them say that he's like a week or two out. Drew Holiday is going to come back. And while he's not the most high usage player, he's going to cut into Denny's playmaking, which is part of this, improvement. Then there's the fact that if you dig in, Denny was doing a lot of this, not quite at this level, but he was doing a lot of this the second half of last season. So if you really want to be nitpicking about it, there's a lot of holes you can pick in his case. The biggest thing against Jalen Johnson is the Trae Young of it all. I think it's like, is Trae Young going to come back? Is that going to cut into his usage? But honestly, what we've seen from Jalen is he's made such a leap that it doesn't really matter. The 5 games that Trae came back, he was he being Jalen Johnson was at 29 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists on those games. Overall for the season, he's up 5 points. He's up 3.5 assists. And even more than that, it just feels like he is a guy now. It feels like he's likely to be on the All-Star team or like a snub. He'd be a classic pick to be a snub. This guy's averaging a triple-double. How is he not an All-Star? I agree with you. And I don't like to do a lot of like vibes-based stuff, but I do think that the vibes favor Jalen Johnson here. And while it's a short enough number that I'm not blasting it, I believe you guys talked through it, a couple of weeks ago on the show at a much longer number. I do think of the 2 favorites, if that's the way you want to approach this, I do think Jalen is the one who I want to be backing right now. And it's nice that it's at, more than twice as long a number.
I will cop to, this is the one where I do the Brandon thing the most, where it's like, but this guy should really win.
Yeah.
And you have to completely throw that out. Like you have to completely ignore that, because if you were listening to a betting show on January 5th, 2026 here in the morning or in afternoon, whether you're on Apple Podcast or Spotify, we appreciate those 5-star reviews, by the way. If you're listening to this podcast or youtube.com/The Action Network, if you listen to this podcast, like, you're like, man, Keontae George is fucking balling. Like he's been awesome. And that dude was dead last year. Like Tony Jones, who has covered the Jazz for 1 billion years, was like, yeah, I don't know if that kid's going to like make it. And now he's like wrecking worlds. Like he is unbelievable now. Ryan Rollins is a guy that was like, oh yeah, Ryan Rollins, like he's pretty cute. Like he's adorable, little Ryan Rollins. And now it's like Ryan Rollins is the second most important player on the Milwaukee fucking Bucks, trying to keep Giannis Antetokounmpo. Like all these guys are in this kind of list of guys that I do think players will tell you that it's harder to go from 20 to 28. that it's hard to go from 24 to 28, 20 to like 20 to 24 is tough. 24 to 28 is really tough. I do think they would agree with that. But I also just think that, like, if you go from you are borderline in the league to you are an established starter, that is still a bigger jump because you have more resources behind you, including minutes and usage, but not just that, like development, all these type of things. What the thing with Jalen Johnson is, like, I would like him to win just because I'm like, he should have won last year. If he doesn't get hurt, Jalen Johnson annihilates that award.
Yeah.
But the irony of that is, if he was so good last year, he probably shouldn't win this year. Like, we run into this problem a lot where it's like, yeah, congratulations, you all paid attention. He did this last year. Like, that's happened quite a bit.
Can I jump in real quick though to say that, like, impact wise, he didn't do this last year. His BPM is his BPM and EPM are both basically triple what they were last year. So, like, the numbers were there for like a little mini leap, but like you said, that tier that he's leaping into, I think, is a notable tier. The playmaking's so big, 3.5 assists a game. That's a massive jump. And then the impact stuff is really catching up to what I think, I 2 years ago wrote the Jalen Johnson All-Stars. He's been one of my favorite players for a while. Now we're really seeing it in the BPM, EPM type stuff. I think the case can be made that he genuinely is the most improved among that tier. Now, I always read this award differently, and I would give it to, someone who kind of really, like Neemias Queta or like something weird like that, where it's like genuinely out of nowhere to an established important player. But I think you can make the case that among the tier of the 24 to 28, like you're talking the 20 to 24, like really established guys, I think he has been notably better this season.
Your biggest mover amongst the top guys is Keontae George. He's moved $75 from preseason.
Yeah.
From where we were preseason. He was 80-1 on opening night, and he is plus 500. The key here, though, Joe, I'll go to you. And I would ask you to try and keep your vitriol for Dyson Daniels winning last year to an acceptable amount versus a Knicks love amount. The yin to your yang, so to speak. But, like, I do think that last year's is it kind of throws us off a little bit, where it's like, who's been winning this? Oh, guys that went from star to superstar, guys that went from really good to like top level. Ja Morant, even Brandon Ingram that one year when it looked like he might actually be a serious player. Rip. And like all these types of things, right? And then last year it's like, oh, Dyson was like a non-factor, and then he became a huge factor and had a ton of steals, even though his defense wasn't impactful at all. He wins. Cool. It used to be like, oh, you got to be on a team like the Pelicans made the playoffs. Okay, cool. Brandon Ingram. Oh, the Grizzlies are the 2 seed. Ja Morant. The Hawks were a play-in team last year.
Yeah.
Cool. So, like, I just don't know really what to expect here.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the biggest question is, like, when you look at it, do the voters maybe have like a little bit of a sour taste in their mouth where you voted for somebody? He did, like, it's not like Dyson Daniels didn't have a good year last year. That's not really what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that I think that a lot of why Dyson was good was because he just got more minutes and everybody in the Hawks was hurt. Like, it wasn't a situation where he had like earned the minutes and then got a bigger role. It almost felt like everybody else is hurt. Like, he was going to get starter minutes about anyway. And then it's just that the usage really opened up. And then that's kind of what happened for him. Everybody else, when you look back, like historically, even for most improved player, especially lately, you're seeing like guys like Tyrese Maxey, Lauren Markkinen, Ja Morant, Julius Randle, Brandon Ingram, Pascal Siakam, like Oladipo, Giannis, McCollum. Those are all dudes that are legitimate, like, all-stars, like, or had been legitimate all-stars at a certain point in their career, right? Whereas Dyson Daniels, like, he's probably honestly never going to be an all-star. Like, I don't think that it's even in the realm of it, right? And when you look at what he did last year versus this year, it's a clear, like, regression overall. So I do wonder if voters are going to say, we want to use this award to like mint players and say, like, you are a certified guy now and moving forward. And and like that's how we're going to do this. Like whereas or do they not really care about it and they say, like, well, you know, we just want to give the guy who we think improved the most this award. And like if they're or are they going to be concerned about the longevity of that improvement. So I think that kind of separates some of these players a little bit, because even if you looked at, say, Keontae George, or, you know, even Anthony Black or Jalen Durant, right? Like Durant's improvement hasn't necessarily, I think, been good, but the stats aren't like crazy from a year-over-year perspective. If you look at Anthony Black or even like Keontae George, they're both on. Well, Black is playing in a smaller role. He's dealing with it in a variety of different injuries. Keontae is playing on a pretty bad team. Even like I'm not really a fan of the Portland Trailblazers. I don't think that they're particularly good, but Denny is doing this on like a relatively bad team. Whereas if you looked at, say, Jalen Johnson, he's doing this on a team that's relatively contending in the Eastern Conference. They're kind of dealing with a number of different injuries too. But I think that what his jump has been is a little bit more, we've seen it now because kind of like what we're saying, it feels more sustainable over a couple different seasons. And then even though, you know, Jim, you've said some of the advanced metrics are improving more and more and more from a yearly basis. So I think if you look at the other guys, they do tend to maybe go towards the Jalen Johnson idea of that player. It's somebody that we think is going to have long-term success in the league, and that this change is actually sustainable from a longevity perspective. So I think that that's really the difference. And the question that I'm wondering from a voter's perspective, does Dyson Daniels' regression change the way that they want to vote for players for most improved?
I have a, speaking of like the guys where it's like they should win this award, I just want to like throw this out here. So Denny Avdia has a plus 2.6 EPM. Pretty good. It's 91st percentile. Colin Gillespie is at 2.4, 90th percentile.
Yeah.
If we're being real here, if we're being honest here, if we're being serious here, Colin Gillespie went from a guy no one knew to being a really important part of a team in the Western Conference playoffs, as opposed to Denny Avdia, who has a massive usage rate on a team outside of the NBA playoffs. Denny Avdia has a 93rd percentile usage rate. He just has the ball all the time. Like, he just has the ball all the time. And that's neat. That's great. And that is hard. It is hard. It is genuinely hard.
Can I hop in real quick on the Gillespie thing? Because I kind of went through part of why I like Jalen Johnson, and there's another name I'll talk about in a second, is just like process of elimination on some of these, because Gillespie, whatever, does have an interesting case this second, but he has the Jalen Green coming back thing, and that is going to majorly impact him. Now, you could easily say Jalen Green has played one full game this season. I'll worry about that, you know, I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. But in that game, Colin came off the bench, played 25 minutes, went 0 for 5, and scored 1 point. So, like, I think that, and supposedly he's going to be coming back at some point this season. And now that Phoenix is in the playoff push, they have a reason to try to get him back. So I think there's a lot of ways to poke holes in a lot of these candidacies that make a few of the guys who have less holes more interesting. I just think Jalen Johnson has the fewest holes to be poked. That's why he's one of the, you know, co-favorites basically at this point. But I agree that, like, at this second, Gillespie is probably the best player, the most improved player. I just think if we're forecasting ahead,
he's not gonna win.
He's
not
no
chance. No chance. And I think he's been awesome. He's been really, really good.
Yeah.
Like, so, I mean, I think that it does present a problem where I can go down the route of it doesn't, like, because I always do this with Brandon and with everybody. I'm always like, look, it doesn't matter who you think should win or how good their case is. It's about whether or not that case is going to translate itself to the voters. Like, is that case going to get made to the voters? Jim, this is one where I am really interested in your theory that the public, or not public, the media awareness of the betting market influences the outcome. Where it's like, if they look at this and they're like, oh, Denny's the favorite, you know, makes sense. Averaging a lot of points. Look at the assists. Like, his assist rate is actually kind of his best thing about him. Like, he and Klingon have really good chemistry together. It's funny because like when I watch him, I'm like, oh, he's like a really good slasher. And then you look at his rim percentage and you're like, oh, but he doesn't actually make layups at all. Oh.
He just gets the free throw line and he can create, but he has a pretty high turnover rate too. Neither you and I are fans of his game, but what we're trying to do here is remove ourselves from it and see what the voters will do. And I mean, he has held this spot all season. So like you said, there's clearly someone out there who has faith that he is, the prohibitive favorite, because that has not really faltered from that all season.
I'm like, okay, who is more likely to make the All-Star team, Jalen Johnson or Denny Avdia? Jalen Johnson. Who is more likely to sustain his performance across the season? Because I think Trae Young gets traded. Jalen Johnson. Who is more likely to have the name power associated with him? Who is getting more push from social media? Jalen Johnson. So, which is obviously why Jalen Johnson's going to be our future of the week. No, wait, no, that's not it. That's not it. And we'll talk about that in just a second. Is there anyone else that you kind of want to throw out there as you're not betting them, but you do think that they're super interesting for voters?
Can I pause this for 1 second? I'm so sorry, Matt. I know this is bad podcasting, because I do want to say the more likely to make the All-Star game, Denny came in 7th in the initial fan vote.
I forgot about certain factors that can lead to.
Yes. I think there are certain factors. Certain factors might hurt in the long run.
Yeah, I don't want to go near that discussion at all in any way, shape, or form, but that is definitely a factor.
Yeah. I have somebody that you're not talking about yet, Jim, because I know you're going to talk about this other guy. So if you have somebody else, I don't know if you want to interject too, or if you want to go right. I think that Nickeil Alexander-Walker, the other Atlanta Hawk, has been like really, really good. Jump has kind of been crazy. He's jumped from like under 10 points to over 20 a game. And the problem is he's just on the same team as Jalen Johnson. So like you're never like the media in Atlanta is going to coalesce. Like you're never going to hear about Nickeil Alexander-Walker's jump because on the chance that it impacts Jalen Johnson's ability to win the award. So he's somebody that I think should really get a shout out. I think he's fit in really, really well with Atlanta, and he's still a plus defender too. So he's been awesome in steals, blocks, really good two-way player for them. I think that Nickeil Alexander-Walker deserves a little bit of love, but I just don't think that he is a viable option considering Jalen Johnson's on the same team.
And he gets so directly impacted by Trae that you really need Trae traded. Because if Trae's playing, his minutes go down, his usage goes down, everything goes down. But tough. I agree, he's been awesome.
Yeah.
There is one more name I will throw out here as like a risk. So MPJ has put himself into a conversation where it's like, oh, look at the season that he's having and the Nets are winning, even though MPJ's performance has nothing to do with why the Nets are winning, which is their defense. Like again,
Mr. Jordan Fernandez.
Like if you want to have like a real conversation about this, Noah Clowney is your fucking MIP. Like Noah Clowney is making a huge leap. Noah Clowney is awesome.
Takes.
But MPJ is much more likely to get traded. So he carries over his stats from when he was on this Nets team and able to do pretty much whatever he wanted. And he goes to a winning team where his usage and minutes and performance might go down, but will be weighted by his prior performance on the Brooklyn Nets do whatever squad. And then you come out with this, like, who's been like really impactful? Like MPJ. He was killing in Brooklyn, got traded to Golden State, and hit a bunch of threes. Wow.
He's got the Derek Queen thing where like everyone said that trade was so good for Denver. And now it's like, oh, well, aren't you dumb? Look at this. This is the inverse of what you thought kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. So that one's kind of interesting. So we do have a play for you for our future of the week for most improved player. And we'll talk about that in just a second. But first, the Buckets Podcast has teamed up with DraftKings Sportsbook, where new customers can bet $5 and get $300 back in bonus bets if your bet wins. Stay in on the action and use your bonus bet on DraftKings same-game parlays for a shot at an even bigger payout. To get started, use promo code BucketsNBA when signing up with DraftKings. Again, use code BucketsNBA when signing up and bet $5 to get $300 back in bonus bets if your bet wins. The crown is yours. Okay, so we've talked up Jalen Johnson for about 20 minutes. So it's time for us to go ahead and let you know that our future of the week is, in fact, not not Jalen Johnson. That is not what we're going to do, because that would be boring and predictable, and we like to throw you curveballs here on the Future Jays. So instead, it's going to be Anthony Black plus 2,500 most improved player at DraftKings Sportsbook. Jim, I will let you begin the handicap.
Yeah, I'll defend the not doing the Jalen Johnson thing to a degree that I'll tease a conversation we have coming about the 65 game thing and how favorites are kind of scary right now, which is why I don't mind taking a longer shot here. Of the longer shots, Anthony Black is my favorite. We've got Jalen Suggs now out indefinitely for Orlando. They really can't get healthy. They've got Franz out. He probably is coming back before too long. Although I have questions about their reporting on that injury in general. So I'm curious to see when he does come back. But Suggs out indefinitely will carve out a role for Black. He's up 6 points, 2 rebounds and assists. The impact stuff's up a little bit as well. It's a good team. It's a third-year guy. He's a really buzzy guy too. I think he has more buzz than a lot of the guys on this list here. He was getting kicked around for 6th Man of the Year, so his name has been kind of, in the awards conversations in general this season. And just of the guys, he like Keontae, I think the Jazz are too bad. Rollins, he's pretty far down the pecking order now. There's just like everyone you can poke a little hole. And now maybe the hole you'd poke in Anthony Black is that he's not going to make that leap up to the level of of a Jalen Johnson, like that type of guy. But again, we just saw Dyson Daniels win last year. I don't think that necessarily is an eliminating factor anymore. So I would rather that factor be, the case against him than some of the others who are on, again, the Jazz being too bad, I think, for Keontae, Gillespie with Jalen Green coming back and just not going to do it in general. Now with Trey, behind Trey and Jalen, there's a lot more holes you can poke in a lot of the other guys. So Anthony Black is, I think, the guy I'd sprinkle down the board for MIP right now.
Joe, your thoughts?
I think that Jim kind of nailed it. The biggest thing I think is that injury to Suggs, and Anthony Black's like been somebody that's actually improved the Magic's offense. It really helped them throughout this time where they're relying on Paolo's inefficiency. And despite that, he's been awesome. So I think that Anthony Black is somebody who's really kind of forced his way into the Magic's rotation and into their usage pool as a key piece moving forward. They really do need somebody that can help facilitate the basketball. And, if you can have him, even when Suggs gets back, him, Suggs, Franz, Payne, kind of surrounding Paolo, that probably is helpful for this Orlando Magic team overall. So I think this number is great, especially as somebody that is an Anthony Black believer. I think this number could come down a lot in the near future.
Okay. Anthony Black plus 2,500 is our most improved player. Future of the week. Brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. Okay, let's do some best bets for Monday. Oh, we have one more subject to get to before we get there because of that. By the way, I absolutely cannot wait for this number to drop and then Anthony Black not to win, so we can all. Love this. All right. So Jim wants to have this conversation, and I'm not like begrudgingly doing it. It's a good conversation to have. The 65 game limit. If you're unfamiliar, if you're a listener and you don't know, I'm surprised, but no problem. You might have a life. In order to win most of the major awards, not all of them, but most of the major awards, you have to play 65 games. The NBA implemented this to basically force players to actually play the games and not rest manage and all those kind of things. And it has created a lot of consternation, predictably, when honestly it probably wasn't even necessary. Like, I'm somebody that hates load management and wants the guys to play. I want there to be fewer games and them to play in all of them that they can. But what has happened instead is this idea of like a player could be excluded, even though like it. Anyway, we'll talk about the problems with this. This is causing a lot of consternation about things because like Nikola Jokic is out for several more weeks. Now, Jokic is, I will just tell you, like I said on multiple podcasts, on Locked On NBA, on Locked On Nuggets, and I think on here that I expect Nikola Jokic back before his time. He's supposed to be reevaluated in 4 weeks from the injury. He is not in a boot. He's on bicycle. He is moving around. He has no discomfort. Everything I hear is like, this is going to get to be, and this is going to come to an head where Steve Short and Dan Sheminsky, the heads of heads of trainer and head medical for the Nuggets are going to be like attached to Jokic's legs, trying to keep him from going onto the court. And Jokic is just going to wade through them and play. Like, I'm just not going to be surprised if he comes back early, guys. But if Jokic were to miss enough games and miss the 65 game mark, it would be like one of these, like, oh God, oh no, like he's ineligible, blah, blah, blah. And it would spark all this conversation. What this does though, is if Jokic, so let's say that he does it, that he comes back in time. Let's say he misses, I have him missing 14 games. That's if he plays, if he's out the full 4 weeks. My expectation if he came back in 3.5 is 12. Let's say he misses 12, and then he misses the other 4 that he's going to miss in order to get to where he's ineligible. That now would mean that most likely we would not have Giannis eligible. We would not have Jokic eligible, and it is very likely we will not have Luka Doncic eligible given his injury history.
Wemby too.
Victor Wembanyama, unlikely to be eligible. If he is, then we're going to have an hour, a podcast that's just an hour of Jim Turvey screaming. It's just going to be like an emo record of just Jim screaming. But Jim is taking a very large position against Wemby on DPOY at various markets. So Shea is in great position here because he hasn't missed any games. He doesn't miss many games. He's young. He's virile. He's able to play, and he's averaging 30 and 6, almost 7 now, for the team that's probably going to win no longer 70, but like 65 plus games in the Western, in the brutal Western Conference, and finish with the best record by margin. So I say all that to give it to guy Jim, which is, we don't have a bet for you tonight, but Jim feels, and I think Joe's in alignment, and I agree, it's important for you to be prepared in the event that something happens that would change the dynamics of this MVP race, specifically with Shea, Jim.
Yeah, and listen, it's partially the 65 game rule, but it's partially just like you said. Oftentimes, in most of these awards, if you don't play 65 games, you weren't going to win it, especially in MVP.
Yep.
But it is MVP is the one that is a little bit different, because in all these other ones, you're looking at like, okay, Denny Avia and Jalen Johnson are the big co-favorites. If they get tweaked, it could be anyone. Like things can happen that are really crazy. For MVP, the pool is so shallow. And like you just said, we're unlikely to get 4 of the 5 most likely winners qualified now. Now, maybe Jokic isn't fully yet into that likely, but he's currently out. There's a very good chance it is that if Shea were to miss a month, that suddenly it gets really, really wonky. Now, Shea has missed only 1 game this year, so he really would have to miss some significant time. But I do think that MVP is the one that you should be watching this the most, because it does give you the biggest chance to, like, there's just hundreds of guys that are not going to ever, they can't win this award. There's really only a dozen guys that can win this award. And most years, to be honest, there's only like 3 or 4 guys that can actually win this award. But with this new rule, and to be honest, part of this is that injuries are just more common in the NBA right now. Guys are playing harder, despite what everyone says, despite what the people who watch the game in the 90s say. The injuries are up right now. So when you put that with the 65-game rule, because it's not really a lot of load management. Not that many guys are doing load management and missing MVP. It's like Kawhi and maybe Embiid, I guess. It really is just that injuries are up as play has gotten more intense and more grueling. So the combination of those factors has kind of opened up the MVP pool, and you're seeing something like Jalen Brunson. Now, do I think Jalen Brunson should?
Hell yeah.
No, not at all. But he strikes me as the exact type that somehow would be the epitome of when we look back on this rule and say, man, I can't believe we made that rule. We got Jalen Brunson to win MVP one year. He was the big market guy on a 1 seed in the East whose impact stats were terrible, but the top 5 guys all went down to injuries, and there just was no one left, and it had to be Brunson. So I'm not saying to bet Brunson today. I'm just saying this MVP one, I do think, is the most impacted by the 65, especially this season with all the big names that have missed significant time.
It's just, I don't know. It's so interesting because I remember a couple of years ago, I think we were doing this when the Zion and the Ja rookie of the year race. And I remember like the conversation we were having was, how many games does Zion need to play for his games to be more like important than Ja's? And we like, that was the conversation. I think that was almost more of like a fun conversation, because if you said, you know, if you're comparing somebody that plays 65 games with somebody that played all 82, like if let's say Shea played all 82 and Jokic plays 65, he's right on the limit. That difference in and of itself, just in the number of games played, should be a factor in terms of like why you think one player is maybe more valuable than the other player. So I don't know if you really needed this rule to be put into place to have this kind of conversation. It sure, like, it gives a little bit more certainty, like, to the market, where you're, you know, you have people saying before, it's like, no, like they never played enough games. Like they didn't get there. There was no true criteria, but like, it's always been a little ambiguous. You know, I think that every season deserves a little bit of like nuance to it. And, you know, if this was a season this year where, you know, Jokic is already going to be kind of pushing and teetering on the 65, and, you know, if Shea got hurt too, and you're like, okay, well, how would we compare 64 games of Jokic, Shea, Wemby, etc. to like anybody else, like 80 games of Jalen Brunson? Like, how would you compare them? And most people would still probably say, we love Jalen Brunson, but it's Jokic and Shea. like that's what we're looking at. So I do think that having like a hard and fast rule takes away a lot of the nuance from it. It's good, and I think it's good and it's bad from a betting perspective. But I also think that like a bet that like I just don't see the real upside from a betting perspective in saying like, well, there's 65 games, there's outs, unless we're trying to prospectively say like the way that you were talking about Wemby, like there's no way he's never meeting this. He's just never going to get to this number.
Yeah, and I think like the injury stuff, I gets a little tedious for me, because I'm just like, you can't bet anything if you're, you know, it's like, well, look, if Shea gets hurt, okay, but what if you bet Shea and then Jalen Brunson gets hurt?
Yeah.
Like, you know?
Yeah, no, that is what makes it so tricky. That's why there's not a bet tonight, right?
And yeah, and so I will say the tier 2, I think, is really fascinating. Right? If we remove Giannis and Luka based off of their availability, and we say that Jokic is going to finish second, let's say he crosses 65, because I mean, I will like, I think the gap between Jokic and Shea, even though like Shea's ahead in EPM, like my favorite metric, I'm just like, I look at Shea's stat line and I'm like, what are we doing? What are we doing here? Why? No. Jokic is averaging a 30-point triple-double on like unheard of efficiency,
with teammates going down left.
Like this isn't. I don't like the phrase "it's not close." I just don't really know what else to do. Last season, I was like, it's fine. Like the coach got fired, the GM got fired. Those are, you know, somebody was like, well, the only reason Shea won it last year was narrative. And I'm like, I think that's a misappropriation of the term narrative, because narrative has a context of it being negative. Like it is in fact a narrative element, but the narrative element is they won a bunch of games and Jokic was awesome, but anyone that paid attention knew the team kind of sucked and hated each other. Like, and Jokic has to bear some of the responsibility for that. His fans don't want him to, which I get to have fun conversations every night about on Locked On Nuggets, but like, that's just the reality. If Jokic were to play 66 games and Shea plays 80, there is no comparison. Like that 14 games of value, that is almost 20% of a season.
Yeah.
It's just too much. It's just too much of a gap. So Jim, you like, if we do the, hey, if you found out tomorrow that Shea was going to miss a month, what should you do? Like, this is kind of how to think, is like, we're trying to prime it in terms of if then, so you don't have to get there and be like, what do I do? You can immediately go and look for this. Jim likes Jalen Brunson. Joe, I assume you like Jalen Brunson?
I mean, you don't have to fucking convince me.
All right. All right. I like anybody but Jalen Brunson. I think Donovan Mitchell, if you want the long shot with upside, because Mitchell has legitimately been preposterous. Like, he has been stupid good. And
if Brunson and the Knicks are a higher seed than the Cavs, you don't think that's going to factor in?
no, it will. Absolutely will.
Plus, it's New York. Like,
Yeah,
It's
100%.
New York. Yeah.
No. There's all these like really dumb reasons to like Jalen Brunson. 100%. There's a bunch of really dumb reasons to like Jalen Brunson. What would be interesting if this scenario happened is you would have a huge. Usually, there's not a huge split with the voters, like the narrative voters.
it'd be crazy, yeah.
And the stat voters and the international guys and whatever the fuck Kendrick Perkins is, like they all kind of coalesce in the same direction. It's like, well, okay, the stats are good enough here and these other factors. And it's like, well, he's the best story. Like it all kind of comes together, right? I've done research on this about how often the result is 90% plus vote share for the winner. But if Shea goes down, it's going to be like the analytics guys are going to be like, there's no fucking way it's Jalen Brunson.
Yeah.
There's no way it's Jalen Brunson. Cat, okay, maybe, but not Jalen Brunson. And then every narrative voter is going to be like, it's absolutely Jalen Brunson. They're the number one seed in the Eastern Conference if they won the East. And then this is where it gets interesting is like, okay, so if the numbers don't matter, does it really just come down to who's the number one seed in the Eastern Conference? Is that it? Like,
you'd have to include Cade Cunningham. Like you have to.
Yeah, it's Cade. It's Cade.
Imagine if the Raptors and it's Brandon Ingram. Yacht Hurdle, maybe.
It's Cade. But I mean, here's if Jaylen Brown wins MVP, Brandon Anderson's gonna lose his mind.
The Tatum fans are gonna lose their shit.
Yeah, they're gonna lose their minds. It's gonna be absolutely insane. And meanwhile, I will tell you the guy that I have. If you asked me today to do my ballot and you said, don't worry about the number of games, just do it. I would have well, the top 5 is obvious because it's Jokic, Shea, Luka, Giannis, Wemby. Okay. Let's take Wemby out of it. Okay. Who's your 5th guy? My 5th guy would be Tyrese Maxey. He's not going to win. Don't bet him if Shea goes down. You should bet Jalen Brunson because Jim's right. I've looked at this stuff and I watched the games. Tyrese Maxey's been the baddest motherfucker in the Eastern Conference this year outside of Giannis. And that includes Jaylen Brown, who's been awesome. And Jaylen Brown deserves this conversation too. I should be betting Jaylen Brown because I think the Celtics are going to not think. My numbers say that the Celtics are going to get the 1 seed. And this is now all of a sudden becoming like a reality. People are like, they could actually do this. Which is great. But it's also, I'm just kind of like, is that really going to happen? Or like the Knicks just going to wind up winning this thing? And to your point, Jim, it does kind of feel like the Knicks are just going to wind up winning the Eastern Conference, like the 1 seed.
It does.
So we're gonna get there.
So it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
MVP.
So anyway, that's your non-actionable. Hey, if this thing that probably isn't going to happen were to happen, you should be ready to go bet Jalen Brunson, the guy that none of us, well, 2 of us don't really think should be MVP to win MVP. There you go. That's your. Hang on.
This is Joe's account health.
Bing bong, bing bong, bing bong.
Account health matters, guys.
All right. Let's do some best bets for Monday in the association. We will start with Joe Dellera. Joe, what is your best bet for Monday in the association?
So I'm naturally going to be looking at the New York Knicks, and I'm going to grab Miles McBride over 10.5 points. I think this line is just too low right now. Josh Hart isn't playing, and neither is Landry Shamet at this point, which ordinarily wouldn't particularly matter. Like I wouldn't totally care, but it does open up a lot more minutes for Miles McBride, who's been pretty solid since he returned. He missed a little bit of time there for the Knicks, and in 5 games this season without Josh Hart, he's hit this in all 5 games. He's averaging 16.2 points per game. The Pistons are an interesting matchup because the Pistons are actually pretty good at defending spot-up shots. But I do think that part of the difference here is that with McBride, he's obviously a great 3-point shooter. We've seen that. He's also somebody that can score off the dribble too. He can create his own shot, and he's not going to be the guy that's the primary focus of whatever Detroit's best defensive options are going to be. They're not going to be putting Asar Thompson on Miles McBride. And I think that the 2-man game between him and Jalen Brunson is going to actually be able to play out a little bit better. He's kind of used as I think I saw a stat today. I didn't remember what the stat is, but he's apparently like the best shooter, or like when he gets a grenade, essentially, like with under like 3 seconds left in the shot clock. He's been one of the best shooters in the NBA. I think that matters here because Detroit's defense is actually pretty good. And he might get a couple more of those opportunities. But to me, the 10.5 points is just too low. It's not as much of a bet on what Detroit can and can't do. It's more of a bet on what New York needs. And without Josh Hart, without Landry Shamet, he's going to probably see at least 30 minutes in this game. And I think that he's going to get plenty of opportunities. That can obviously shoot from 3, and he's not afraid to get to the free throw line either if need be. So I like Miles McBride over 10.5 points. I would take 11.5 as well. Potentially sprinkle a little 15 plus, given just what he's done without Hart this season.
He's been so preposterously good. Like, he has been so great. And, you know, any trade, if they wind up doing the Giannis trade, that is my number one ask if I'm Milwaukee for like the starting point is like, you're throwing McBride into this thing.
The contract's so good too.
So good. It's ridiculous. The deal
going down next year.
I know. Leon Rose has legitimately been great. Like, he's been legitimately great. And the fact to do this under James Dolan makes it all the more impressive. Jim Turvey, your 3-star bet of the night.
Got Kevin Durant over 29.5 points plus assists. You know, probably the most notable thing here is that it is a revenge game against the Phoenix Suns, who he obviously left this offseason. I'm not always the biggest revenge game guy, but I will say there's a couple other factors here. So he played them once this season. He did go for 28 and 8 in that game in 32 minutes in a blowout win. I lean towards the Rockets in this game overall. We have the Suns obviously coming off a big win over OKC. We have the after you play the Thunder and you're playing the second half of back-to-back type thing. Houston's very good at home. Phoenix is not so great on the road. I don't think Grayson's going to play on the back-to-back, but I think that all wraps up into a pretty good game for Durant. The first game he played against them that was up when he had the 28 and 8 was without Alperen Şengün, but we once again have no Alperen Şengün on Monday. In the last 3 games without Şengün, Durant has gone for 30 and 7, 30 and 5, 34 and 7. So he's cleared this just on the points alone in all 3 games. He's had a good assist bump in those games as well. And the big thing here, Court IQ over at Roto Grinders, our tool that shows you what guys do with other guys on and off the court. KD's usage is up 5.4% with Şengün off the court, and his assists are up 2.3%. So both those numbers really do pop without Şengün on the court. So I really like the points plus assists for Durant here in a game where I lean towards the Rockets as a whole.
Yeah, I've got a little bit of an edge on Houston in this game. I'll probably stay away from the side on this. I do like the over on this, which kind of feeds into that. So I might like the over and KD here, though I don't know how I think about Şengün. The under is 3 and 2 in Suns back-to-back games, and they've held the opponent under their team total in 3 of the 5. So they have, but that actually kind of feeds into the Durant over as a weird kind of correlation here, which is whenever I think the Suns are a pretty good team. Statistically, they're not awesome, but I think that they're pretty gritty. Whenever you face a team like that, what winds up happening is like everything gets funneled into the player that can make the tough shots, and then that guy just kills them. And so, like, I like this a lot. Durant over 29.5. That's a great cap by Jim Turvey. Let's go back to Joe Dellera for your 2 and your 1 stars for Monday.
So I'm going to be grabbing Jaylen Brown, 30 plus points. He just put up a 50 ball against the Clippers. And I normally don't really like going back to the well with somebody that puts up a kind of outrageous performance. I always feel like there's a little bit of room for regression, but Jaylen Brown has just been on an absolute heater the entire month of December. Was super pissed that he didn't win Player of the Month. And I think that he's just going to keep taking it out on every single team that he faces. And what better team than the Chicago Bulls? The Bulls play pretty fast too, so it's a clear pace up spot for him. And we've seen like some other lead guards play perform pretty well against them. Aaron Fox put up a good game. Jalen Brunson's put up some good games. And I think that his ability to get downhill, get into the paint, is important, and he's going to be able to attack the rim. I think he's going to be able to generate a good amount of contact. He's never really played them without Tatum before, but when he has played them over the past couple of seasons, he's been fairly consistent. They just have won a lot of these games by like monstrous amounts. So I think that's limited his upside a little bit. So I think that the 30 plus here without Tatum is a pretty good opportunity for him against Chicago, who's obviously playing at a much faster pace than they really had played in previous seasons. So I like him to go over 29.5 points. And then for my 1-star, I thought, so we're recording this, I thought I was waiting for like a perspective line here, and I wanted to bet on Tari Eason over 16.5 points plus rebounds. I'm seeing it open around like 20.5. I still think that it's a viable play without Şengün. He has gone over this line against the Suns over the past couple of seasons anyway, with 34 and 25 PR in his last couple matchups against them. And when we look at this without Şengün, I do think that he's going to be able to get a little bit more playing time, a couple more minutes, a little bit more usage, which is important. And I think it kind of goes down to the fact that he's going to be able to get some of these opportunities to get into the paint, attack at the rim, clean up the glass as well. I think that when these games are when you're playing some of these spots where the team is on a back-to-back, Tari Eason's a guy who just has a relentless amount of energy and can kind of like get under your skin, get the ball, attack the rim, get out in transition. And those are a little bit tougher spots for traditionally against Phoenix, but at the same time, given the fact it's a back-to-back and off a pretty emotional win over Oklahoma City, I can see this being a pretty good letdown spot and Tari Eason being able to pick up this over 20.5 still. So I'd probably play this a little bit lighter, given the fact that it's moved so much. It's generally been at like 15.5, but 15.5, 16.5. But I think without Şengün, there's plenty of upside. Plus, maybe we don't get Steven Adams either, and that would further increase his rebounding upside.
Okay. Jim Turvey, talk to me about your 2 and your 1-star for this week.
Definitely. Just real quick on the Jaylen Brown thing. The Bulls also basically don't have a backup center right now. So, and Vucevic is one of the worst rim protecting centers. So I like that play from Joe.
And you always kind of get that last second dunk on the Bulls lately. They've been when the game's out of reach, they've been you get one more score.
Exactly. All right, my 2 and my 1 for my 2-star, I have the Hornets plus 16.5. Really big number here against the Thunder. Thunder on the second half of a back-to-back. They will be motivated, obviously, after that Suns game. But I'm in on Charlotte. I'm going to join Fonseca in scrolling the Reddit message boards for Hornets Nuggets, not Nuggets, Hornets facts here and there. But they're 9-3-1 against the spread since Brandon Miller returned. He's been really good for them. They're actually 12-5-1 with Brandon Miller playing in general. And OKC is kind of sneaky mid against the spread. It's kind of funny. They have this amazing net rating with these crazy big wins, but they're still 18-8 ATS this season. It's not as if they're running away with, against the spread. Yeah, isn't that crazy? They're 18-18 against the spread.
Wild.
Yeah. Charlotte does really well against folks on no rest. If we go by cleaning the glasses spread differential numbers, they're plus 14.4 in those situations. I think Oklahoma City is going to sit Isaiah Hartenstein. I'm a big Hartenstein person. I think he's a very impactful player that is on my kind of Jalen Johnson all-stars for this year, where if he sits, I think the market doesn't adjust enough. Charlotte's good on the road. They're 6-1 ATS on the road with Brandon Miller in the lineup. And the biggest thing here is they have the potential to be a little bit undersized. If Kalkbrenner and Diabate are both out, Oklahoma City's not really the team to punish them on the glass, especially if they don't have Hartenstein. So I think it works on a matchup level. I think it works on kind of a spread number overall. And I just want to get a Fonseca-style Hornets play on here. So for Hornets, 16.5 is my 2-star. Then my 1-star, I've got the Clippers. Those same game parlays you can do, first half, full game. I like the Clippers here in this game overall. And then I was poking around a little bit and see how good of a first half team they are. They're 22-12 against the spread in the first half this season, which is amazing because they've been so bad ATS overall. It really is that they've gotten off to fast starts and kind of clunked their way down the stretch. The net rating since on this kind of recent hot streak in the first half is plus 13.6. And if you look on the flip side, the Warriors are one of the worst first half teams this season. They're 14-22 against the spread in first halves this season. That last game for the Clippers did look really bad. They got smoked by the Celtics. That was Zubac's first game back. Lopez looked like as they moved to the bench, he started, then they put him on the bench quickly because he looked like somehow with Zubac back, he lost all of his superpowers that he'd had there for a bit. I think that overall, this is just a Warriors team that I'm not super high on. Their big three of Jimmy, Draymond, and Steph, they're only a plus 5.6 in a really big sample this season. I think this team's just kind of mid. I think the Clippers are sneaky. They've kind of bounced back and doing pretty well. Kurt looks really lost with this rotation. He's playing like 14 guys a game. I don't think that's really a good long-term strategy. It's insane. So I'm going to go with the Clippers here, and I like adding the first half to it to get a longer number. You could just play the first half, you could just play the full game, but I think obviously they're correlated, and I'm going to be playing them together for a little same game parlay on Monday.
What could go wrong? Back in the Clippers twice. That's absolutely phenomenal. On the Charlotte play, I've come around on Charlotte. Fonseca has worn me down successfully, and so
same.
When LaMelo and Miller play and they're road dogs, they are 6-1 against the spread. When just LaMelo plays and they're a road dog, they're 8-4. So yeah, I mean, it's a huge number. I get it. I'm staying away. Like, this is one of the problems. So like I backed OKC tonight. I was like, oh, this is a great spot. Like, I had good trends on it, everything. Nope. I'm in Oppo here just because like my numbers are obviously just going to be like, oh yeah, OKC is going to destroy them. Every version of my model is like, no, you're good. Like, they're gonna kill them because they're incredible. Now, Hartenstein being out, the injury report would shift that. Preseason priors to make it 15 with ATS home adjustment. The in-season numbers that make it 17. It's right about at the number. So I'm not going to play it, but I can't blame Jim. Like, the trends all scream this is a great spot because the Hornet. It really is just a matter of as long as the Hornets keep doing what they've been doing, you should be good here. Okay, that's going to do it for best bets. As a reminder, Jim Turvey likes Kevin Durant over 29.5 points and assists, the Hornets plus 16.5, and the Clippers first half and for the full game versus the Golden State Warriors. Joe Dellera likes Miles McBride over 10.5 points, Jaylen Brown 30+ points, and Tari Eason over 20.5 points and rebounds. Now, I went ahead and adjusted that for him so he's attached to a higher line since that's what's available during the show as opposed to the very juicy number that he was projecting earlier. So weird. Nothing but honest here on Buckets. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Appreciate you guys being with us. We'll be back tomorrow with more best bets every night this week, Monday through Thursday. Best bet episode, 11 p.m. Eastern, live on YouTube. Catch us there. For Joe Dellera on the Cash That Podcast and Jim Turvey at Roto Grinders, I'm Matt Moore. Till next time, let's get buckets.